Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Yeah, my name is Ernie. I'm actually a alumni from Parkside. Graduated class in 2004, and currently I am on the team here at Kohl's Department Stores. I work at the corporate office. Team I'm in is internal communications team. So we do a lot of stuff from everything from public relations with external partners and external audiences to a lot of internal communications. And that's one of the main roles that I have is manage a team with our partners across the company, manage a lot of the internal communication that happens. My particular role, I focus a lot on the technology to make that happen. So in what I do day to day, tends to be a lot around the internal web stuff. So we use a lot of our internet sites, if you will, to communicate. So I help manage a lot of that technology. And then as new technology comes up, right here we're doing a little bit of a video Skype thing. We have another tool that we started using internally for video called, you guys may be familiar with, Google Hangouts. So it's looking at a lot of different technologies and seeing how do we better engage associates and communicate a lot more effectively other than conference calls and, that type of thing. And using technology to be better engaging, making communication more effective, et cetera. So using these communication tools to do that. I think like a lot of folks, I really didn't have a clear defined path. I knew that I had tried out when I started at Parkside. I tried out a couple things, English, and taking a major on in English and other things as well. But at the end, with communication, kind of came on pretty early on, and just kind of stuck with that. Looking back and out of what my path has been. I found that I kind of ended up going back to what I just had a strong passion for. One of the defining moments that I would say helped guide me or set me up, in a certain path was in high school. Got really introduced into kind of at the beginning stages of what the internet in general was. The idea of creating a website was just kind of like mind-boggling to me. So I started playing a little bit with that, and then in college I took an internship with the communication department to manage the internal communication department website. And I think that internship really set the course for me in terms of just showing me what my interests and strengths were, and kind of seeking that out. So after college, had a couple of jobs here and there, but in the end, I think I knew right away what I didn't want to do, and that helped me say, all right, media technology, communication technology, that's where I want to be. And that's kind of what helped me give me some kind of guiding, path, if you will, to be where I'm at today. Technology is just a medium. What we're really trying to go after now is kind of the nuances of the communication. So to your point, right, where if we look at something where it's a lot of the nonverbal stuff, how does that come across in the technology world today that we live in? Where how do we capture a lot of those things? And that's really what's helping. When you're in a meeting room, when you're definitely having a meeting with your team and you're in a room together, it's very different than having a conference call. And we know that, and we catch all those nuances that we wouldn't catch on a conference call. For us, it's how do we capture those elements in the communication as well to help it be more engaging and effective. So they're very, very much go hand in hand. I think it's something where I come together with business partners and I say, here's what you guys want to do, but let's forget about the technology. Let's try to understand what you guys really want to communicate, and how do you want to communicate it, and then we can talk about what the technology looks like. But at the heart of it should always be kind of the idea of what we're trying to communicate, how we're communicating it, and how do we improve on that. I think there are two things that have really helped me in terms of just technology, and the first is just like a genuine interest in it, and the second is thinking, always willing to learn. That's, I think, where now we're at a place where new technology comes up. Like, for example, I mentioned Google Hangouts earlier. There's this new conferencing video software called Chromebox for Meetings that Google has, and that just came out in April of this year. 3 months later, we're implementing it in some of our executive offices. That was new technology. I had never really had an experience to it, but just my genuine interest in technology and my willingness to learn. And then how do we bring that into the business world? It's not so much about what's new and cool. It's about what is the heart of our communication. What's the pulse of our communication, and how does the technology help with that? And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't, and we move on. That's a great question, because I did spend a little time trying to figure it out, and I think that was okay. I think college, when I look back at, especially Parkside, one of the things that was great about it was that I kind of came in thinking it was this 4-year program, try to get it done, get it, and move on. But I think a year into it, I started figuring, like, I'm not really certain what I'm after here, and just taking that time to figure that out. There shouldn't be a big rush, so I don't know that I would change anything, because I think some of the things that I tried and failed at, I am grateful for, because I was able to learn a lot from it. Some of the things that I tried and were quote-unquote successful at, I'm extremely grateful for too, because I've learned a lot from those experiences. So I think that my schooling allowed me to figure that piece out, how to try things differently and how to react to it when it doesn't work out. What school taught me was this kind of idea of continuing, how to research, how to continue learning, how to apply, the theory of communication to the things that we do, how to look at all of these things and elements of nuances from just humans and how we communicate, and how we understand and perceive things, and lay those into these things that tend to be black and white. I don't know that I would really change anything. Anything, I think what schooling provided for me was more of just that foundation, because I think even after, when I started my career, I was still trying to figure some of that out, and early on in so I think one of the things is, like, I think we go about it in a very pragmatic way, which makes sense, because there are some fields that lends itself better to, right? If you want to be a doctor and you want to be a specific doctor, there definitely are these kind of milestones that you have to hit. There are other areas that are a little bit more ambiguous, and so those tend to be a little bit more difficult to say, this is the set plan. So I think that to say, once I'm done with school, I know what I'm going to be doing, that will change.
¿Cómo te ha ayudado saber otro lenguaje en tu educación de comunicación?
So, knowing Spanish in my education, I think, of communication, it's been extremely helpful in knowing another language. And I think it's not so much just knowing a language, to be honest with you. I think let's put aside knowing another language. as communication students, one of the things you are a student of is how people communicate. And because we speak the same language doesn't mean we communicate the same way. And I think that's huge, and that's something too from school, right, that we learn. And so you go into different cultures, learning environments, corporate environments. I mean, I see that all the time. How we work here at Kohl's isn't how Google is working. How Google is working isn't how Northwestern Mutual is working. You know, you have these different cultures, so you have different ways of communicating effectively. So one of the cool things about knowing Spanish and just fluent in it was not so much just my knowing of the language, but my immersing myself in culture of it and understanding that, you know, this isn't just a set way of how we communicate, but there's this other culture that communicates very differently. What means something to us can mean completely something different to that. And so now, how do I communicate effectively to both cultures? So I'll watch a show called Amores Perros, and the literal translation that title of the movie in English, Amores Perros, is like dog love, and doesn't make any sense. So how does that translate over into culture? And essentially, I don't even remember what they were calling it in English, but it was something along the lines of Amores Perros really means is love's a bitch. So how do you even when like the things that come across in a foreign film and how they're translated into English, it's context is huge. Context is huge. So it's not sometimes a translation verbatim. It's like, okay, this is translated exactly this way. Sometimes you have to take into consideration the context of the words, therefore it changes maybe the words you decide to use. So I think learning and understanding and immersing myself in culture, particularly a Mexican culture, just because of my background, has been huge and beneficial for me in understanding communication. Wants to be Steve Jobs, but what you really want to be, what they're really attracted to, is someone's passion for something and someone's skill set for something. When those two kind of come together and clash, I think that's what people tend to really like, are drawn to others with when they're there. And that's why, you know, someone like, say, Steve Jobs, when even he communicated, that came across in how he communicated. It informed how he would communicate and made him an effective communicator in that way. And so that's been really informative in shaping kind of where I'm at. That's a loaded question, man.
Man, this is heavy.
We think in threes, so I'll give you three things. The first is definitely find your skill set and where your strengths are. Find something in that area. Secondly, something that you're passionate about. So again, something that you're good at, something that you're passionate about. Usually the two always go hand in hand. The last one, the last thing that really I think helps folks just be great at what they do is because they give a damn. So I would say the last one is to simply just give a damn and give lots of damns. In whatever we do, I think we need to understand that at times we really need to kind of just pitch in and collaborate with others in spite of our differences. And I think that's what helps not just one individual be great, but teams be amazing. For this, I forget the name of the course, but there was the media and technology course and that was huge. That was really big for me. There was another course as well in understanding how communication, the application of communication, just in you know, how we perceive it, how we understand it, and how we're all like in different areas, even within culturally, right, subcultures, etc. So I guess to answer your question, it's my education at Parkside, and this is why I love doing these chats, you know, and coming back to Parkside when I'm able. You know, I've been back several times in the past several years. And this is why I think, because it definitely gave me the framework, and everything else within that framework changes, evolves, and whatever. But there's definitely a framework there that I only got at Parkside, and I'm grateful for that, for sure.
Ernie, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Cool. Hopefully this was helpful, and thank you very much for reaching out, guys.
No problem. You have a good one. Man.
Cool.